By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying.
Shalom, shalom, family, and welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth, Yehudah, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Most High God for all of our lives. Praying that the Creator will continue to bless each and every one of us during this time and during this season. Also, asking the Most High God to be with all those who might have had some loss, might have lost some loved ones during this time. Once again, extended our love to the family of Chief Captain Meshulam and to the family of Adon Yaroah ben Yehudah, Zakwen Yaroah ben Yehudah, in their time of loss, praying that the Most High God will heal them speedily. Like I said prior, all praises to the Most High God. Also giving due respect to the leader of our congregation, my brother, Chief Prince Yariel ben Yissaskar. Also praying that the Most High God be with all of you who are listening. Don't forget that during this platform that you can leave your questions in the comments or in the chat, so that when Nasik sees them, he will answer them in the future. So no, the question doesn't have to be on the topic that is being spoken about. Just any general question, he'll be happy to answer it if he has an answer for it. So we thank all of you for tuning in. Early Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And I pray that the Most High God would grant us all some knowledge, wisdom, and above all understanding. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and my mentor, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligent Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And due respect to the platform, more on the spiritual leader, D.C.B platform, Chief Prince Yariel ben Yissaskar, to the host Chief Uzel, to the princes, chiefs, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Martyrim, brothers and sisters, visitors to the channel. I greet you all and then tell my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off as I usually do. It's Adonai Sabtai Takufiyagi Tilateaka, Allah on my lips, and my mouth shall declare that praise. We'll be main thing, the third week of Haftarah comfort will be what I'll be focused on, because Isaiah, which is mostly the next few Haftarahs have something to do with the season, as I often say. And they are mostly coming from the book of Isaiah. Also, I'd like to address a question that was left on there on the last review highlights, and it was coming from I believe the sister's name was Daphne or something. But the question was related to she thought that Binyamin was born outside the land, because of Raquel dying. But I'm gonna go to Genesis just for a moment, in the 35th chapter, and the 16th verse. Now, prior to that, you had the nurse of Rebecca, Rivka. Her nurse was named Deborah, and she dies early in this chapter. The previous chapter, you read about Dinah being raped in the city of Shechem, being destroyed. All right, so they're already in the land, but just to address the particular question, because she thought that Binyamin was born outside the land, and it says in the 16th verse of the 35th chapter of Genesis. All right. And they journeyed from Bethel, and from there was still some way to come to Ephrath. And Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, for this also is a son for thee. And it shall come to pass as a soul, and it came to pass as a soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoni. But his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem. So we know automatically, Bethlehem is, in that particular southern part of Israel. And then Jacob set a pillar upon the grave, the same as the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond Migdal Edea. Okay, so that's so I just want to read that little one portion there to share that it was in the land, and also Bethel. So that means it was on the way to Ephrath. They'd been already. They always in the land because they had left Shechem after the situation with Dinah, and the spot that she's buried at is actually about 4 miles south of Jerusalem. You have a monument over there, that they say is, Rachel's tomb. And that's the actual route that they was taking to go back over, into Babylon, So, and that's why when I was focusing on one of the things that I was focused on is that there's only a few miles also from Hebron, which was the cave where the patriarchs was buried at. So this brings up a lot of situations, but I'm not going to go into that now. But it's only a few miles from the cave of Machpelah, and it's actually located, about 4 miles from Jerusalem in this particular time. So he was born in the land. He was actually the only one that's actually born in the land of Israel. And, to tie on to what I said, you had the patriarchs buried in that cave in Jeremiah time, because Jeremiah had to go to Hebron. But yet it was actually, Rachel's cry, and they both did. So it was the prophet bringing a particular emphasis on her tears being a plea for the children of Israel to come back, as opposed to anybody else in our history. So, and that's why I focus on Sukkot, about the merit of the ancestors of our fathers. So now, this week, I'll be dealing with the Sidra Re'eh. So the Sidra Re'eh starts in the 11th chapter of Deuteronomy, the 26th verse, and it continues and concludes in the 16th chapter of Deuteronomy, ending at the 17th verse, and inclusive. The Haftarah company I'll be reading would be Isaiah 54:11 to 55:5. What is interesting is that the word re'eh means seeing. Got something to do with sight, to see. But in this, from the word roe, which as I say, I need roe, I'm seeing whatever, So when we know that it says, "Behold, there's just something in sight," he making a presentation, but the presentation doesn't always have to be physical, in this presentation. So you're looking forward to see beyond a physical form in this sense when you say re'eh. And I'm just going to read a few verses on this, and this is, but I'm gonna just highlight the whole portion because so much to cover here. And deal with the curses, deal with the two mountains where the curse is supposed to be on, and what you do there. The monuments for adultery to be destroyed, a place of God's service, laws of eating flesh, warnings against adultery, laws of eating, period, and entices of adultery, relatives who entice who entice to adultery, and adulterous cities to be destroyed. God's people must be disfigured, must not disfigure themselves. What beast we may eat, or not eat, dealing even with the fish, even with the fowl, the sub portions, nothing that dies of itself. Tithe, which most people focus on, tithes, and it's very extensive when we deal with tithes. It deals with the year of release, deal with lending and giving, freedom of Hebrew servants, versing of cattle, and the Shalosh Regalim, the different feasts, Passover, weeks, and tabernacles. And then, that's where it ends at. So I'm going to mostly focus on the last portion of the book, on the Shalosh Regalim, as opposed to, and just touch on a little bit on the tithes, which is an interesting subject that most institutions focus on today, such as, more so, the mega churches and stuff like that. And the connotation that's a little bit different compared with the Torah view of what tithes is, as opposed to what most people look at it today. All right, so I'm just going to read from the opening. Behold, I set before you this day blessing and curse. The blessing if you hearken unto the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day, and a curse if you shall not hearken unto the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way, which I command you this day, to go after other gods, which you have not known. All right. So a lot of people confuse the concept of choice with free will. Moses set this before. Remember, this is the longest sermon that we got on record. Moses was had the longest class to study too, on record that we know. Because how many people would be up in there learning Torah 40 days and 40 nights? Moses had the shortest prayer on record and the longest prayer on record. The shortest one is for his sister, and the longest one was for the nation after the sin of the golden calf. So this was a phenomenal man, So you could just only imagine what was going on in his head. And yet we read about great guys like Shlomo Hamelech, the king Solomon, and we read that he was the wise man that ever lived. None going to be wise before him, and none after him. So we don't even know how much Solomon knew, and we can't begin if God educated Moses on moral standards and worship principles, how much Solomon was able to dissect and break down that. So you could imagine the depths that Moses knew. And Adam, being the first man, he was a man of intellect, sekel. You find mostly in the Proverbs and in the Psalms. It's an intellect that he had. So it was phenomenal here. But free will, when you say a person give you a choice, it's a limited concept. It's either this or that. But when you say I'm going to refuse both of them, then you exercising free wills. So that's what the Creator had given man. He given man free will. So Moses is speaking in behalf about laws, of observance, and and later on he goes, to do various portions explaining benefits behind it. All right, and we got the two mountains that's mentioned here, which is Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. And this is when you go cross over the other side that they implement this here. But I wanted to go on. They talk about the laws of eating again. We had a dietary law that's mentioned already in the book of Leviticus, right? And the portion I believe and more. So they had the dietary laws there, and now we have a little, a slightly different, same animals, just kosher, not kosher, but presentation of the same dietary laws that we're we're supposed to, we can eat and we're not supposed to eat, making a differentiation for that, where this is not so much saying it's healthier for you, because a lot of people use the concept that if we eat a certain way, it's healthier. It's not focused on health reasons. It's focused on holy reasons. That's what the Creator required for a particular people. Not that a person that eats, uh, oysters and, different, things that's, may not be, kosher, squid and stuff, that they may not be healthy, or or crocodiles, or serpent meat. Not that they might not be healthy, but it was about your holiness and what God required between clean and unclean animals, because the Creator made them all. So we had that. But what's interesting, I like to bring out, is a particular verse. And it talked about human sacrifices before, right after that, they talk about a dietary law. All right. But when we get to let me see. Let me look at this 19th verse. All right. Well, when we get to in there, they have a term they use, what they call oath, in the dietary law. It's an oath to whore, pure wing. And it's talking about insects, sometimes referred to as the locust. And you say, well, pure wings, then doesn't also the fowls have wings? But when they use the word pure wings, it's referring more so to, in this particular portion, to like locusts, certain locusts that we're allowed to eat, the insect creatures. So that's something, you might discuss and look into a little bit more with your various teachers in reference to that particular portion of dietary law. And also, in this particular portion, it mentions about, not, see the kid in its mother's milk. And when they talk about seeing the kid in his mother's milk, it's mentioned 3 times in the Torah itself. All right. So I just, just for people that might want to look it up, it's only 3 times mentioned in the Torah. And then that's in the book of, Shemot, Exodus, the 23rd chapter, the 19th verse. That's the first time it's mentioned. And then it's mentioned in Exodus, the 34th chapter, 26th verse, as well as when we get to the 14th chapter of this particular portion of the book, that it mentions, a kid, and it, use the word lo tavashela gedi bekalav emo. All right. So tavashels means to cook. Sometimes you might find it on certain wines and stuff like that, kosher wines. You might say, you might find that word there. And it means, the way it's cooked or processed. All right. So now, when we look at that, they come with reasons. The literal reason is what most of us of the Israelite community might adhere, understand and adhere to. And we got to see some logic, behind the literal meaning of not cooking a kid in its mother's milk. The milk is meant to sustain the animal and yet you're killing the animal that, and it's coming from his mother, and it shows a lack of compassion. But the rabbinic view, the halakha view that they deal with in this particular area, one, you're not supposed to cook meat and dairy. All right, you're not supposed to cook it. That's the first rule, and they got from a rabbinic viewpoint. The next viewpoint is, the next prohibition, I should say, rabbinic prohibition, is that you're not supposed to eat it, meat and dairy together. Now, if you eat dairy first, then depends on your menu card. Then you could eat meat afterwards. But they even, but they even say you're not supposed to even have it on the same table. Some, on the same table. But if you eat the dairy first, then you can eat the meat. But if you eat the meat first, then you're supposed to wait X amount of hours. Depends on the customs that you might go through. I spoke on that a while back when I was speaking about in the dietary laws that came up in Leviticus, that in a place such as Holland, where they have eat more dairy, they might only wait an hour if they eat meat first and go and then eat some dairy. Whereas in other countries, they had the minimum general rule was like 4 hours, some as much as 6 hours, some so extreme they say the next day. But that's it. And the third, it's not any benefit. So this is halakha view. So in reference to that, they should not receive any benefit from it. So benefit is like, I ain't cooking it, so I ain't breaking the law. I'm not eating it. I'm not breaking that law rabbinically. But somebody else made it. I could sell it. So that's a benefit. So you're not supposed to. Those are rabbinic rulings on kashrut in that particular area. So I know it depends on like I said, if you follow a strict halakha code, then that's one of the reasons in reference to that. It also mentions about not eating blood again, and it focuses on the thing about not eating blood. I believe in this particular sidra 3 times about not eating blood. And so it's about, diet is important as far as God is concerned, as far as holiness is concerned. All right. So when we go further, it talks about a prophet or a dreamer of dreams in the 13th chapter. And I just want to read just the opening of that. So all this word which I command you that you shall observe to do not, thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it. If there arise in the midst of thee a prophet or a dreamer a dream, and it give thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign of the wonder comes to pass, whereof he spoke unto thee, saying, let us go after other gods, which thou shalt not know, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God putteth you to proof, to know whether ye do love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul. All right. And after the Lord your God shall ye walk, and him shall you fear. All right. And his commandments shall you keep. And unto his voice shall you hearken, and him shall you serve, unto him shall you cleave. And that prophet or that dreamer of dream shall be put to death, because he hath spoken perversion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed thee out of the house of bondage, to draw thee aside out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shall I put away the evil from the midst of thee. Now, that's pretty clear there. But I like to just focus on one thing. It says a prophet or a dreamer a dream. So another view to look at, who should be able to convince you to turn away from God? It shouldn't be a person that's not of your people, a person that don't look like you. When I'm saying like people, I mean, say like, let me just take for instance, if you a Greek and I'm an Israelite, then a Greek shouldn't tell me that I need to serve the gods on Mount Olympus. The Romans shouldn't tell me I need to serve the pantheons, you know what I mean, of their gods. Only one would be able to get next to me in that manner is family members. And he was able to give a sign. So that's why I said if a prophet or a dream arise amongst you, that means that they should be the only ones that you might give some kind of credence to when it comes to servitude to a higher source. But if the source is different from what you was taught concerning this God that did, and he leave on record his resume of what he did for us, then that individual, you know, supposed to be put to death. You know, and you know, though he gave you a sign that came through, predicted something that came through, the dream that came through, you know, and just what most of us fail, you know, throughout the diaspora or even in the land, is the other people who's not part of our family convince us to serve their gods. When we're told not to inquire how they serve them gods, how they serve their gods, we got convinced by other people outside of our own family to serve their gods. And so this is what is focused on here. And you know, and you notice is you could challenge a prophet or a dream. But later on, you know, which is coming up, you don't challenge the judges, which is, you know, a thing that's coming up soon. All right. I just move on from there because that's not one of the things I want to focus on today. And you know, we know we're not supposed to eat anything that die of itself, but I want to focus on, let's touch on about tithes, and then I'm gonna focus on the last portion before I go into Haftarah. So let's look into the area of tithes, alms. Now they have, you know, they have several different ones to talk about. Now I'm not going to talk about teruma. You know, teruma is just, you know, what goes to the Kohen priest. You know, the first of this, the first of that. That's mostly, you know, teruma. You know, in that area there. All right. Also, you know, you find in the book of you know, teruma, the offerings and stuff like that that was dedicated to the Mishkan in the wilderness. But when we talk about tithes, now your tithes is supposed to be the same percentage as my tithes. But unlike what America and the Western civilization think of, they think of tithes as a tax, and a tax that you give to an establishment. You know, and they look at it, and most of it is as something that you give to the clergy or a church or some kind of religious body to support that, and that's it. Tithes in scriptures are much different. Of course, we do try to support the institution of, you know, the Mishkan and later on the temple, but it's focused more, you know, when you give to the government according to the other society concept, Western society concept of tithes, or most religious institutions of the tithes, you don't benefit from it. Where certain things we benefit from it, you know, and as we're gonna get more into when you get to the Shalom Regalim, you know, you got several tithes and different offerings. I'm just dealing with the tithes, not the teruma in itself. And I'm just giving you some of the terms that they use, you know, on the tithes. You know, they use it, you know, Maaseh Rishon, you know, Terat and Maaseh, you know, and then Maaseh Oni and Maaseh Shani. All right, so you know, when we deal with the different masorot, which is, you know, the different tenths or tithing, as it would call. Because the word maser is from the word, you know, 10. So this is a tenth. And some things don't give a tenth. The first fruits. What are they? How much is that? There's no specific amount when it deals with the first fruits, because uh, um, when it comes down to a tenth, every animal. So if you had animals, say the firstborn, the first of the animals born on a yearly thing, and every 10th you would count. There's no certain number, other than every 10th. So that's I'm just gonna give you a couple of definitions I have already written down as they understand it. Maaseh Rishon, it is a 1/10 of the remaining crops is given to the Levites. This is called Maaseh Rishon. The owner was permitted to give this type to any Levite he so desire. Now, I want you to, I want to elaborate just on that part just for a minute. You're going to have popular Levites and you're going to have unpopular Levites. Now, suppose, how can you ensure that all the Levites, and some particular Levites, not neglected? These are some you could discuss, and I'm just throwing these out. Throwing these little things out as I go through it, because I'm not going to really focus on that much. But how you could tell other Levites, some Levites come to live large because he's popular with everybody. And the other one, we don't care for him too much. So, and since I got the choice who I want to give it to, I'm going to give it to this one here. So how do we resolve those problems? Some might say, forsake not the Levite. Well, I'm not forsaking the Levite. Technically, I'm giving it to the one of my choice, which is according to the law. So these are some of the things you might want to discuss more, amongst your teachers and stuff of that nature, and then it goes on. When they talk about, to remind my say, I really like to see a song from a farmer, had to give in turn 1/10 of what he received to a Kohen. The remainder, the Levite's property, and could be used as he saw fit. All right. So that's, right then and there, that the Levites had to give a certain portion of what they got to the Kohanim, of a particular one that went through the Levites first, but always a Kohanim being on the spot to make sure everything is done properly. Then you got Maaseh Shani, as a separating out the Terumah and the Maaseh Rishon in the first and second, fourth, and fifth years of the sabbatical year. 1/10 of the remaining produce will be set aside and brought to Jerusalem to be eaten there by its owner and his family. If the journey is too long and the produce might spoil or become impure, in the process, it could be redeemed by an equivalent sum of money, and the money could be brought to Jerusalem. So what we learn here is that, unlike we have a tax, every society have a tax. All right, everybody have a tax. I know. Now here later on, and you notice when I said Jerusalem, because that's what it later became, the spot, and which I'm going to speak on in a moment, and because it don't say where the spot is in the Tanakh, in the early parts. In the early parts, they don't say in the Chumash where the spot is. We only was designated a spot later, after Solomon built the temple. But before that, we don't have a spot that's designated, as one central location. So when we look at this, when we think of taxes, when you pay your taxes to the government, all well and good. You're supporting the government, but do you benefit from it? So when we talk about tithes, there's certain types of tithes, and then we talk about one type that's done pretty often in here. The type, the third year and the sixth year, the third year out of sabbatical year, because we had a sabbatical year of 7 years, and which we talk about. So the 3rd year and the 6th year, those things go straight to Jerusalem, to the Kohen, all right, in Jerusalem. But when you talk about this, the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, and the 5th year, those things you have, can enjoy. So now, since these things, you're talking about the 1st year, we only got a 7-year sabbatical. 7 year, the land, nobody picking up anything of the land is laid foul. Whatever grows of itself, grows of itself. But you're responsible the 1st year, the 2nd year, the 4th, and the 5th. All right, that's 4. All right, in 2 years, the 3rd and the 6th year is a different type of tax that goes straight to the coin. So now, unlike any other society where you pay taxes, the tithes here, most of the tithes, you enjoy. You eat it, but you're supposed to eat it in Hamakom, the place. And and what's interesting, and when they talk about Hamakom, the place, in the book, it's mentioned 16 times in this particular sidra. 16 times when we talk about the place. And Hamakom that God should choose. And if the place is too far, you turn into money. Turn the money and get there. Now, and buy what you want in Jerusalem. Now I know about I just want to bring out a little bit of a concept that and not to be disparaging, so to speak, but just bring out some realities to this particular process. Is that we read in what they call the New Testament that their main individual character said, that they had the money changers and there was like a den of robbers before the temple. And he supposedly had thrown over the tables and everything like that. Well, if you turn your product into cash, you can't eat the cash. You can't offer up the cash. You can't drink the cash. So you have to buy. And when you have to buy it, when you get to the place where the people, wherever that place is, which we find out later on, and it was a centralized spot, which is Jerusalem, then you're going to say, okay, all right, I want to buy some lamb. I want to buy some wine. I want to buy some figs and grapes and stuff like that, so I can enjoy myself. So this, and you can't even eat all that you bring yourself, but that got to be ate and dealt with there. And so that brings out a lot of discussion about how can you enforce it? How can we deal with this situation here? How do we really, say that everybody coming up? And I want to bring out this one little interesting point here about when we talk about, which is going to come up again, about the poor, and which is an interesting concept. Let me see here. When we deal with but unlike most people have been teaching over the years in different other areas, and when we get in the 15th, I want to bring out this particular portion in the 15th chapter, the 4th verse. I just want to read these things so you can talk about, and I'm not going to elaborate on that much. I'm just going to bring it out so you can speak on it and discuss it with your various teachers. The 15th verse of Deuteronomy, because we talk about charity and alms and stuff like that in this particular sidra, and we also talk about lending. But here in the 15th chapter, 4th verse, it says, Howbeit, there should be no needy among you, for the Lord will bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, if only thou diligently hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. All right. So now I want to look at that and have you consider that, because we talk about every 7 years, a year of release, and some people might want to lend a person because oh, the 7-year release is coming. I'm not going to lend him any money, man, because we only got a couple more weeks, and he ain't gonna make that money back in a couple of weeks that I need to lend him. So I'm not going to lend the individual that money. So people, would hold back their resources because they say, it's like I can't get paid back. I'll loan it to you after the sabbatical year. The sabbatical year is a whole year. How are you going to make it through then? But these are some things to discuss. And that's what I'm saying. It's a long topic, but I don't want to speak on it much. I want to highlight certain points in it for you to discuss amongst the teachers. And then we talk about that, about how it is that, there be no poor person, no person who was poor among you. And, coming from the 4th verse. And then we go down to the 11th verse in the same chapter. The 11th verse in the same chapter, it says, for the poor shall never cease out the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt surely open thy hands unto thy poor and needy brother in thy land. Now, which is it? Is it the 4th verse of that same chapter? We're not going to have any poor. Then if we're not going to have any poor, how is it the 11th verse in that same chapter talk about we having poor people and they'll never cease out the land? So what's going on with that? So, and it's dealing with economics and taxation, so to speak, because that tax is like a taxation, and everybody always look for loopholes in every society in taxation. And it's hard to enforce the taxation of a tithe, and a tithe in the scripture is a lot different. But that being said, just briefly, we got I'd like for you to consider that those two verses seem like it's opposing. If we got no poor people, I don't need to lend anybody any money or anything, even advice. And if we got poor people, then how is it that there'll be no poor in the land? Every society, every single government focus on trying to get rid of poverty. Every society, mankind, and every country, every nation, any group of people, they try to say, how can we eliminate poverty? And I'm just going to say it in a nutshell before I go into the next portion of this here. You can always discuss it, like I said, teachers, is that poverty had to be worked on. You got to, if you don't act and take a concern for your brother, one that's near you, and help and aid in the system, then you're going to always have poverty. So in other words, if you keep the laws and constantly being concerned about another human being, then that's the only way you can ensure poverty would not exist. But yet, if it's based on you doing your part, but if you ain't doing your part, then verse 4 and verse 11 seem like it's contradictory terms. But it's Moses letting you know that this is something you got to work on. And every society that in the world today constantly say, how can we eliminate the poor? How can we bring the classes up? And all that stuff. Even with those, we in the election year, the biggest thing is economy. Why economy is important? Because some could live through the economy as it is and others can't barely surviving the economy. So Torah letting you know that it's a thing that exists that's constantly got to be worked on, and it's something that only way you could eliminate it is doing the laws of God. That's the only way you could eliminate. And it takes everybody to be active in it, not just some. Everyone must be active in it. So we're gonna move on just from that point, and I'm gonna focus on the last part of this particular Haftarah. Sidra, which is the three appointed times. All right, and which is interesting. The 16th chapter of Deuteronomy is the three appointed times that's here, and it talks about the Passover, right? And it talks about Shavuot, and it talks about a reference to the Feast of Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, right? And when we look at it again, and talk about now the pyramid, empty-handed, another of those three times. But what's interesting here is that each one of those days that we observe when the Shalosh Regalim has something to do with our history, and where Passover, season of freedom, season of redemption, and then we talk about Shavuot, when we actually got to meet with the Creator, at that particular time, heard the voice of God. So we were sanctified enough to be able to hear something from the Creator, and then we get down to the last portion, which is Sukkot. Now we're we'd be coming into the month of Elul, the 6th month, which is the month of preparation that we usually have, and Elul, the month of Elul is an acronym coming from the book of Song of Songs, which is Anila Dodi Wadodi Li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. So they come from the Song of Solomon. Let's deal with the Passover first. I'm just going to highlight a few points on that. And when we deal with the Passover and talk about and discuss those particular areas of the Passover, is that it's a season of our freedom, but it don't mention joy in Passover. And yet, we're supposed to serve God with joy. And that's one of the reasons why we went in captivity when we get to the book of Deuteronomy 28 chapter, because we didn't serve him with joy of heart. So Simcha, joy, is mentioned, one time with Shavuot, and in Leviticus, and it's mentioned twice with Sukkot, and I think twice or one time in the book of Leviticus for Sukkot. And here, when we get here, it's mentioned once in Shavuot again about joy, and then 3 times during the time of Sukkot. So now you say, well, not only the circumstances, there's a lot of questions you could discuss with your teachers. There's a lot of circumstances when we talk about our freedom, it caused the lives of other people as well.
Excuse us. Prince Zurishaddai is having some difficulties. Hopefully, we could get him back up and running. Could not hear him on the stream, so hopefully we could get him back up and running. Seems like he's having some
Okay.
now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we had when we reached Shavuot, Mount Sinai, we had a mission because we heard the voice of God. So now we're not just cut loose. We have a mission statement to perform. We have a goal. We have a constitution, a law, and then after that, 40 days later, we messing up. When we get down, but I don't want to focus on that because I focused on that a little bit last time. Let me just, say disregard that last remark, as they say in the courtrooms. So, but actually, so around Shavuot, we got God. We heard God, the voice of God there. So we have a joy. But what we have is these things was agricultural time as well. And Passover, we mostly plant, but we don't harvest anything. Only, they might say the barley harvest come early, but basically you mostly sow around that time, in the springtime, Pesach. But you could be a little bit more joyful because on Shavuot we got a thing of observance, where we have the wheat crop. We done already, harvest our wheat. So we have a little bit of joy, but we ain't got full joy because we still got other stuff need to come forth. Different fruits and stuff that are gonna come later on and within the year. You have a season called YAH in Hebrew, which means we translate as summer, but it also means heat or dry. So what people do sometimes, and it's going to be related to the Shalosh Regalim, is that some fruits that come up in the summertime in the months, you lay them out and like maybe on the roofs on a flat surface and let them dry out. So now the grapes or the dates, you got dry dates, you got dry raisins, that you can have, in the season, and then you got the last crops around Sukkot. So now you have a little bit of joy, but not full joy because you know what you planted, but you only can be joyful when you reap some kind of harvest. So now you got joy during the time of Shavuot. But now as we get to the end of the year of Sukkot, we have an area where, went through Yom Teruah, the blowing of the shofar. You already know you're good with God with Yom Kippur, you pass through Yom Kippur. All right. You already have also, if it was a sabbatical year, you dealt with it within that particular month, of the month of Ethani, or later on, most people call it Tishrei Day. Then you enjoying the final harvest during the time of Sukkot. Now, what makes it unique is that two things I want to bring out and focus before we go into the Haftarah is that, one, in the fall, when you get ready to go into the winter months, most people take their patio furniture, the yard furniture, and bring it inside. We, on the other hand, take all our goods and food and bring it to the outside than anybody else. We're distinct from everybody else because in the fall time, people be bringing everything inside because they, no need sitting on the deck no more. It'll be a little cool outside. No need talking about getting the sunshine and tanning up and all that kind of stuff and, getting that vitamin D stuff because them days, just about passed over. But we ourselves, we leave our houses to come back into, be showing that we're thankful, and we build a makeshift spot with all our produce here. And they tell you to enjoy it with your your sons, your daughter, your maidservant, your manservant. You enjoy
Once again, Prince, you went out. Your audio went out. To the listening audience, Nasik is having some difficulties with audio, with his stream. We will try to get that resolved.
All right, we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. All right. And the other four we have is you got your four: your son, your daughter, your maidservant, and manservant. Enjoying the produce at the end of the year. That's your family. And here, God's family is the stranger, the widow, the orphan, and the poor. Everybody gets to enjoy. That's why Sukkot we have the word enjoyment, mentioned 3 times, within the Sidra, because that if you take care of your family, you must also show the love and the kindness to God's family, and you really can have enjoyment there. So, because God take care of His family, so that means that you can really enjoy Sukkot. I just did that briefly. It was a lot more I could bring in reference to that particular time, but just to save time, I'm going to the Haftarah, which is Isaiah 54, and but you can discuss those points more at length with your various teachers about those particular points and times that's coming up. And normally in the beginning of Elul, they start to read the 27th Psalm every single day as well. All right. So in Isaiah 54, we're taking it from verse number 11.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Going to the book of Isaiah chapter 54, verse 11. It reads, O thou afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted, behold, I will set thy stones in fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires. And I will make thy pinnacles of rubies, and thy gates of carbuncles, and all thy border of precious stones.
Keep going.
And all thy children shall be taught of Yehovah, and great shall be the peace of thy children. In righteousness shalt thou be established. Be thou far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from ruin, for it shall not come near thee.
All right there. All right. This is talking about a return, you know what I mean? And it's talking about what the Creator said. That you're not only returning to a place, but you're returning to a place that's lavish, elegant. We see some of these mega condos or different rooms in some mansions, with some of the, I guess, the sultans or the sheiks or stuff like that. How they rooms look with the furniture and stuff like that. That's be nothing in comparison, compared to what will we come back to, when God bring us back. And that's the thing about comforting us, that what you thought you left, it's gonna be far more better when you come back. And though you went through this trial and tribulation. All right. Let's read a little bit further.
It reads, verse 15, Behold, they may gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall because of thee.
Right there. Hold it. All right. They may gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall because of thee. So the Creator Himself, a lot of people have a doubt that, hey, Jerusalem, the last round, they're going to be that glorious and that great when we come back home. And those that's dispersed throughout the 4 corners of the earth. But if the Creator made the heavens and the earth in 6 days, you think He can't do something for a city? You know what I mean? So well, the last round of the final stop that we make gonna be a glorious stop. And it said those that might have enviness, hatred, we ain't got to worry about that. So we're ain't about us fighting our way out. A lot of times when we think about the racisms and They always bring about the black issues, the Black Lives Matter issues, the gay lives matter issues, and all these different issues here. That's further subdividing people, during a society that you're supposed to be technically trying to work with and work within. That those things there, we ain't got to worry about that at the end. Those issues won't be in existence for us at that time. And the Creator Himself would deal with that. All right, continue.
Verse 16, it reads, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the fire of coals,
Uh-huh.
and bringeth forth a weapon for his work. And I have created the
Keep
waste to
going.
destroy. No weapon that is formed against thee
Uh-huh.
shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yehovah, and their due reward from me, saith Yehovah.
All right, right in there. I mean, people going to talk about you bad. They're going to talk about you. But they're going to look foolish when they're talking about it, and it ain't going to prevail. We got examples of, people keeping us anonymous and talking about us. And one of the things, and I'm talking about the negative thing, and then we look at Haman. There's a people in your empire, they don't regard God or king, talking negative, but without identifying the people, but he knew what people he had in mind, but he didn't tell the king what people he had in mind, and so, and we see what happened to Haman, thousands of years ago. So how much more for people when God started to round us up in the latter days, he assures that we ain't got to worry about them talking about us and plotting and doing everything like that, because the Creator going to handle that. So one thing about talk, you can never suppress it as long as the person's on the planet. People are going to talk all the time. Those that know you going to know you. Those are going to believe you, going to believe you. That's it. But that's why talebearing and slander is such a hideous thing, simply because it's no physical defense you could put up against it. And he's talking about this against a people, but he says right then you're gonna have people even coming with all kind of weapons against you, but they ain't gonna prosper, because I used to listen to different people to say, man, you better get you some artillery. Well, I'm buying it for the people I might have to fight. So if you say we gotta get that, some artillery, because when I came up, they used to have a thing about the revolution will not be televised. All right, then I'm buying it from the guy I got to fight. If he's selling me the artillery, he gonna sell me the best. He gonna sell me all he had. Or he gonna sell me the outdated stuff. So it's no way where we're gonna fight our way out of this thing as a people. If that was the case, that'd have been the first plan and objective. Say, look, we don't need God. We could bop our way out of any country or society we in around the world. But it don't work like that. Countries with weapons are standing down and trying to talk it out before they work it out. That's with weapons. So, but they got the weapons for them. And we don't know who they're going to turn it on. But one of the things for sure, the Creator said, though they form these weapons and build these weapons, I give them the skill to build them, but they ain't going to prosper if I'm with you. And that's what it's saying, and that's the thing of comfort. All right, let's go into 55th. We got a few verses in the 51st chapter, 5 verses.
Isaiah chapter 55, verse 1. Ho, every one that thirsteth, come ye for water, and he that have no money, come ye buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price.
Hold it right there. All right. How you gonna buy something if you don't have any money? Why would they say it? That don't even sound correct. I'm buying something with no money. And you didn't even say, I'm extending you credit. So how I'm supposed to understand this verse? Because when you purchase, I got to at least have something to deal with. Even when we talk about leaving the land during the 3 pilgrimage times and bringing our tithes and stuff like that, up to the place that God should choose, then when we bring that up and said the place to be too far, something might be spoiled. I didn't choose the live, over where I'm at. I mean, my territory, my tribe territory is located over here. So, but I got to go over here if I want to do the law. And you notice everybody didn't go regular enough at that. But if I want to do the law, I got to go over here. So now, if I had to make that travel and make that track there, all right, that's that lets you know that it's a sacrifice that's made. So what would we buy without buying water? And said buy water. That's the first thing they talk about here. It says the thirsters, everyone that's thirsty come ye for water. He that have no money come and buy. And then do you eat water? But so it's a metaphor for Torah. It's a metaphor for the law. And that's why everybody look at that. Because we know that during some areas, water go get a high price. But they talking about the regular water that no one produced. No one produced for God. He the only one produced the water. So look at Torah itself. It sustains the individual. So that's the allegory is talking about the laws of God, your performance. It go on and says, the second
Verse 2, it reads, wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread, and your gain for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David.
All right, the sure mercies of David. Even Solomon had to live off them sure mercies of David. That's why the kingdom wasn't destroyed. It split in his time. Because David had some credits. And don't you know that during the exile, the Babylonian exile, going to the Persian exile itself, except for one major key figure that you read about, you always had a descendant of David as a major leader. Mordecai himself, you read about Mordecai, but it was a different situation with Persian thing. But you got Daniel, Ananias, Azariah, and Mishael. They call Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those guys there. You had Nehemiah. You read about Zechariah. These guys is actually descendants of David. Various houses of David. Ezra, Levi, you read about the Levi, you read about Ezekiel, sitting amongst the elders of Yehudah. It says sitting amongst the elders of Yehudah. So when you talk about the sure mercies of David, David was promised an everlasting household. So he wanted to build a house for God, but God gave him an everlasting household, everlasting line. So always going to be a descendant of David on the earth, and always be concerned, and there's going to be that kind of mentality and concern for the people. Like David said, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, my right hand forget his cunning. In the last couple verses, it says,
Verse 4, it reads, behold, I have given him for witness to the peoples, a prince and commander to the peoples.
And he used the term Nagid right there for prince. Go ahead, continue.
Behold, thou shalt call a nation that thou knowest not, and a nation that knew not thee shall run unto thee, because of Yehovah thy God, and for the Holy One of Yisrael, for he have glorified thee. Hallelujah.
All right. That means everybody gonna come around because you're gonna be somebody. You know what I mean? And you notice that the Creator can make you that popular by serving Him. Everybody want to know. Everybody seeks salvation, no matter what lifestyle they're in, no matter what nationality they're in. They want a good life. That's what everybody should look for. And we got the formula and the key that was handed to us about how to live a good life, how to live a godly life. And that's what it's all about. you know. And so I know I went through this kind of quick, you know, in the Haftarah. So I always say you can always go over it, discuss different key points, but the main thing that's focused on is that not only our return, but while we be on the agenda of returning, the top agenda is learning Torah, the rules of the Creator. You know, that will sustain you. Moses had said in the last Sidra, that man don't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded from the mouth of the Lord does man live. He starts off in this Torah about those that are thirsty. You know, so are we thirsty enough to pursue the Creator, to pursue righteousness, pursue holiness? You know, that's so the condition that exists within us should motivate us to try to remedy the condition, and the Creator don't wait for you to figure out what to do. He said, come on, buy something without water or without money. So I hope you got some of what I said, any mistakes by my own, and I hope I was able to, you know, answer the question adequately for the young lady. And I say Shabbat Shalom, early Shabbat Shalom, and you know, Shalom Aleichem.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to like the video, share it. And also, Shabbat Shalom to all. May the Most High God bless you all. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders.